this is a quick recording of how to set up and use the grid box method for creating basic letters that you can then embellish or make unique in different ways for yourself for our lettering project in the Borders Out of Order artwork. So just starting with pencils, I have the most comfortable pencils that I have to draw with, which are number 2 basic, number 2 pencil Ticonderoga, which is my favorite pencil, and the ebony pencil, which actually that's kind of my favorite too. So anything that you can comfortably sketch with. And I just have, well, I looked for white drawing paper, but I only have Bristol, which is also super smooth and nice. So anything that lets your hand move pretty freely. So initial sketching, you can feel free to skip the measuring, and I will just show you that first. But you are going to have to use a ruler at some point. So when you're holding your pencil, we'll have gone over this, but just to remind you, for basic loose sketching to move quickly and not get all caught up in the super tight controlled megamaniac, tense person, you're going to lay your pencil down and then bring your hand in from the top and pick that up so that you're really just holding it on top and moving your arm in your whole arm, not just your fingertips or your fingers, in fluid motions. So we're going to build, actually before I do that, a little grid section that is 3 by 5, and that will allow us to draw the basic proportions of almost all the letters. Okay, so I have my pencil, and right now we're just going to work on a nice rectangle that has the basic proportions of 3 by 5. And like I said, you don't have to measure. Some of you are not going to be able to accept that answer. That's fine. If you need to measure, you totally can. But here, I'm just giving myself some basic right angle rectangles. Now, just a quick tip on how this is not the only way to do it, but how I usually go into dividing something into thirds and fifths, which is not halves, is I pretend that I'm going to divide it into half. So I just give myself some midlines like that, and then I remind myself, that one's a little off, do you see that? It's okay. I remind myself that I'm not going to divide it in half, I'm going to divide it into thirds. So then I look at this center line and I know that this is not going to be one of the actual lines that extends down through the shape, but it's going to be the halfway point of one of the columns. So when I do that, then I can say, well, I need this line and this line. Actually, I wouldn't have been still holding the pencil that way. Maybe here and maybe here. And I'm looking at this space compared to this space and this space. And that's what I use to help me figure out thirds. And sometimes I get it on the first try, sometimes I really need to adjust it, but usually that method works pretty well for me when I'm eyeballing odd numbers. Now, when you are drawing and sketching, there is no law written in stone anywhere on any mountain or monument that says you can't turn your paper. I prefer to draw in a vertical way rather than a horizontal way. And if you pay attention, look at that midline. That's horrible. Do you see what I mean? So I'm clearly more successful when I'm drawing in a vertical way and using perpendiculars and vertical lines rather than horizontal, because look at this midline. It's literally horrible. So if I find the midpoint here, that's the midpoint. Oh, I shouldn't have drawn that. Oh, okay. Well, that's all right. I'm not going to use that midline that I just drew, but I can still visually use it. I got all distracted by how bad it was. All right, here we go. There. And these should look like cubes, by the way. If they don't look like cubes, then you've got kind of an issue and you need to fix it, which could happen, and that's okay. So this is my way too dark midline, but like I said, that's all right. All these lines are a little too dark. Okay, kind of made them dark to show you how to draw the 3 by 5. Okay, there it is. All right, so you might want to do one just to get the feel, and we're going to label them. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Yeah, that one's really hard to see. 4, 5. Okay, so that's how to do it. Now I'm just going to draw one much lighter. So if yours came out super duper dark, I would also recommend that you come in and redraw it as well, much lighter, because now we're going to actually draw a letter. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and you should definitely number it as well so that you can see that you've done it correctly. All right, so we're going to do some of the drawing on paper, and then we're going to also do some of it on our iPads so that you can feel both ways. So what numbers are going to fit in these proportions? Well, any number that feels kind of regular. So I could list them all out, but it's probably easier to tell you the ones that won't fit here. So letters that won't fit here are M and W, okay, because they're too wide. And then I think that's it. Okay, so how do you use this to make letters? Well, it's just a matter of visualizing them and then making it happen. So here's a T. T is a pretty standard, easy letter used to make wonderful names and words. Okay, there's your T. I mean, that's pretty easy. Okay, I can go ahead and use this one over here. Now let's try one that's possibly a little bit trickier. N. You might be looking at this thinking there is literally no way an N is going to work. So you're just going to start by restating lines, right, that you know are going to be there. So maybe it helps to visualize if you're writing the N underneath it. Okay, that might help me too. So first we've got here and here. Okay, then you've got the bottom of the N and the top of the N. Okay, and then you're going to just start connecting and dragging. This is coming down. This is going up. Okay, this is going down. This is going down. Then you're really just going to pick and choose which ones you need to cover up and which ones you're going to be letting stay. Okay, so as you're going through and you're using and you're making all these beautiful letters, you can see that everything's going to fit right in here. Like if I just stopped in the middle, which would be silly, but I could make an H. All of a sudden now my in the middle N is now an H. Okay, or I mean, this is so mean to do to this T, but my T can become, oh, I'm going way out here, a P. Now I haven't shown you curves yet. So let's take a look at that, okay? I'm gonna make a clean new one so that you can see how curves are gonna work. All right, start with our rectangle. And if you're feeling tight, switch to the overhand method. And the key to that, I forgot to say this earlier, is to go the stroke of the whole side. Don't stop and like inchworm along, okay? Go the whole side. Got a little dark again there, my bad. Okay, the whole side. All right, let's go back to that P. So a P is gonna start and come right up with all these nice straight lines, right? And it's gonna come around, ooh, and I'm not sure, you probably shouldn't have gone up that high. Yeah, I think it'll look better if I stop right here. So let's pretend that part didn't happen right there, okay? Now, as you're coming up these, a P or any other curved letter is going to go, you know, from one, you're gonna round it basically. So there are different ways you could do a P, to be honest. Like you could round it just at the ends. You could round it, you know, different places. It's like, here's a dilemma, right? Some people might want their P to, honestly, I didn't do the whole alphabet out, so I'm kind of winging this. By dividing it down the middle, you can make sure it's symmetrical, okay? So these are like the super basics of the block letter. Okay, so what I would like you to do is to, using this box method, and this will be an assignment, okay, through the website and then into Schoology. You're going to use the block method to write out a 5-letter word. School appropriate, of course, okay? So this is really simple, right? You're thinking, well, that's easy and also kind of ugly. But what comes next is if we just take our T here, let me show you, and you're looking at the T like this, okay? By the way, that's gotten easier. I suspect it will for you too. Okay, so here's the T. And I'm going to draw just, you know, the basics in. But what you can do with this after you've drawn your basics, or you're like, oh man, that's so lame, I want to make my T special. So then you've learned some things, right, about text and font over the course of your life, that you can add things on them called serifs. Or sometimes you've used text that had italics, okay, and those are things coming off of them. Or I have a link in the slideshow to some really awesome letters that have, you know, like he extends some drop shadows out, okay, and some shadow sort of box. This isn't exactly working because of the shape of this, but I like to just try things, and that's what we're doing. This is not like a finished artwork project. This is experimentation and trying things. Like, see, that's wonky, but you know, let's try things. Okay, what would it look like if this part was curved? What can you do with that when you go to shade it? What do you do in this corner? I'm not sure. Not this. But let's try it. You know, what happens? What happens on the front? Can we do something like this to make it look like it's a prism, you know? And then I can shade it like with iridescent rainbow colors or something. Okay, I'm making it multifaceted. If I run a thing down here, oh yeah, see? Now I might be able to sort out this mess at the bottom. So I've used my basic T form, but I'm making it all new and unique and exciting, okay? So this is the first thing, the first assignment. 5-letter word, plain box letter style. And then, that's number 1, part 1. Part 2 is same word embellished. Okay, so here are here's like the little mini example I did. All right, so I want you to walk through that yourself. So you're going to take your 5-letter word that you do with plain letters, and then you're going to reimagine that with some original embellishments. So I'm going to put that on there, okay? Original lettering. Now, that is not to say you have to invent lettering styles, because that's kind of probably not possible. You can certainly look at things and be inspired, but I want you to kind of go your own way with that, okay? The next video that I want you to watch is how to load your graph paper into